Hello there, my name is Les Ross. I'm the director of the online golf school, HighlanderSchoolOfGolf.com, and the author of the golf ebook, Breaking the Distance Barrier. During this video, I want to explore the relationship between your distance potential and the angle at which you can rotate your trunk on the backswing. I'm sure you all appreciate that the more that you can rotate on your backswing, the greater your distance potential. In fact, you often hear the pros if they need that little extra oomph off the tee, they don't try to hit the ball harder, they just simply open up their shoulders a little bit more to create that greater rotation. So how many of you actually tried that and been really disappointed with the results? In fact, some of you may even have tried opening up your shoulders more and found that your distance actually decreased. Well, there's a mechanical explanation behind that, and I thought that it would be worthwhile just digging into the mechanics behind distance, so you get an appreciation of the things that you should be focusing on in order to help you improve your distance potential. Distance is a function of the amount of energy you can actually store in your backswing. So the more energy you store, the greater your distance potential. That's pretty obvious. But in order to understand how you generate that energy, you need to fall back on a little bit of physics. Energy is a function of the force that you apply to an object over the distance that you actually move that object. And that relationship is true for objects moving in a straight line. But when an object's going in a circular motion like a golf swing, the relationship is a little bit different. The energy that you can store in a golf swing is a function of the torque you can generate in the swing multiplied by the angle of rotation. So that's where we've got this relationship with angle of rotation and distance. So it makes sense then that the more that you can rotate in your backswing, the more distance you can generate. But that's only true if you maintain the torque that you generate in the backswing. So if by turning your backswing through a larger angle you actually reduce the amount of torque you generate in the swing, then the impact on distance is going to be disappointing. So you have to look at not only just the angle of rotation, but how you generate torque in the swing. So let's look at the torque function of that equation. From a physics point of view, torque is a function of a force that you apply over a radius to an object. So for instance, a torque wrench, you've got a torque wrench a certain length, the torque that you apply to a nut is a function of the force that you apply to the wrench multiplied by the length of the wrench, or the radius of rotation that you're applying that torque. So when we look at the golf swing, the same relationship applies, and torque is actually generated in two major areas of the swing. There's lots of different areas, but the two major areas where torque is generated is in the upper body and also in the lower body. So if we're looking at that relationship of force times radius in the upper body, the forces that are involved in creating torque in your trunk are all the contribution of all the muscle forces in your lower back, your shoulders, your triceps, your forearms, multiplied by the radius of rotation of your swing, which is a distance that's given by a point in the center of your chest, which is really where you're rotating, to the end of the club face. So that's why when you hear again large hitters explaining where they get their distance from, they always say that they want to keep a wide backswing arc. And the reason why they're doing that is they're maximizing the radius of rotation of the swing. Now when we look at the lower body, the force times distance in the lower body, the radius of rotation is increased by essentially widening the distance between your legs. Because the point of rotation is right between your feet, and the wider apart that you make your feet, the more you increase the radius of rotation that your hips rotate around. And that's why you see the touring pros, when they're driving, actually adopt a very wide stance for the driver, and that's because they're just trying to maximize that radius of rotation of the lower body. The forces that are involved are the contributing forces from both legs. That's both the right leg and the left leg, multiplied by that radius of rotation. So now that we understand how torque is generated in the swing, how come handicapped golfers lose torque in their backswing? You know, this is a phenomenon that a lot of people don't realize, is that they have plenty of torque in the swing if they can just maintain it without losing it. Well, here's how it happens. Let's look at the upper body first. As you rotate on your backswing, you reach a point where that left elbow starts to break. Now, when that happens, essentially two things happen. One is when you break that left elbow, you actually reduce your radius of rotation, as you can see I'm doing right now. The other thing that happens is that the reason why that left elbow breaks in the first place is because you've stretched the muscles beyond their natural range of natural flexibility range. And once you get beyond that and you make that break, then all the forces that you had in your triceps and your forearms essentially is reduced. So as you reduce that contribution of those muscles there, you're greatly reducing the amount of torque that's generated in that motion. So an elbow break on the backswing is a massive torque loss contributor. Now let's look at the lower body. Again, as you are rotating the backswing, many golfers lift that left heel. Now as soon as you lift that left heel, you lose a lot of the force of the left leg, the forces that the muscles are contributing in the left leg to the lower body torque equation. And that's why you'll see many of the big hitters today, you'll never see them lift that left foot. And the reason why is because they want to optimize all the muscle forces from both legs to maximize that torque in the lower body. So how do you avoid this torque loss? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Keep your swing within the range of your natural golf muscle flexibility. So just as I explained in a previous video, if you can swing to the point where you avoid that elbow break, you will maintain all of the muscle forces in that left side to optimize your torque, and you will also avoid lifting that left heel, which would then maximize the muscle forces in your lower body because both legs are contributing. So knowing that, again we come back to this relationship of the angle of rotation. There's no point going any further on rotating your trunk beyond that point where you break that left elbow. So in order to increase your distance once you've got to that point, you're left with no other option but to increase the flexibility of your golf muscles. And that's where stretching to improve your range of motion, of your flexibility, is key to the distance potential. Because if you are able to maintain that left elbow in a firm position, but then through stretching increase your angle of rotation by just as little as 5 degrees, you have the potential of adding an extra 10% to your distance, because you're increasing the energy that you're storing by 10%. So if you typically hit the ball 200 yards, you increase your flexibility angle by 5%, you can add about another 20 yards distance to your drive. So anyway, I hope that gave you some pointers to think about. The key for distance is not just angle of rotation, but it's maintaining torque. And you maintain torque by keeping your left elbow firm and your left heel firmly on the ground. So give it a try, and best of luck.